Folks, I think just before we get started, Rashmika and I are actually good friends as well. She works at this company called View.ai, and I take care of the startup program at Freshworks. I've done marketing for about 4.5, 4 years at Freshworks. Um, and we just thought we'll keep this as conversational as we can. And how do you go about generating both SMB, B2B leads and enterprise SMB leads? Freshworks concentrates more on the SMB and mid-market functionality, and View.ai caters more to the larger brands. I think they work with some of the largest fashion brands in the world, and Rashmika takes care of growth over there. So happy to be combining with her, and thanks Yash for inviting us over for this. So Rashmika, do you just want to get started with something and then we'll jump
Yeah.
into
Hey, everybody. I come over with like 4+ years of experience in marketing, digital marketing, growth marketing, and demand gen, basically. So I work for View.ai. Like Nivas said, so we're going to be sharing a lot of practical strategies that has worked for us, where we failed, and learnings that we are going to bring to the table. We will, View.ai majorly focus into the enterprise segment, and Freshworks works with the SMB segment majorly. So we will be covering both the segments here. I think that's going to be really helpful. Super excited for the next 1 hour here.
Awesome, awesome. I think so. Just before we get started, right? I was just thinking maybe if the attendees could just key in your name, which city you're from, and maybe like the name of the startup or name of the agency or name of this thing on the chat widget, so that we just get to know each other. And also, I think we'll try keeping as many questions. Hey Ravi, so Ravi is from Push Engage. I think he's also one of the other speakers. So happy to have him here. So all the other folks, just key in your where you're from. So we'll just get started on some of the things over. So yeah, I think as we give context, right, like in terms of Freshworks mostly plays in established markets. So we're going to be sharing very contextual learnings of what we've had in terms of lead generation / marketing, and building an outbound engine and building the inbound engine as well. So because of the current situation, you might actually incline towards building an outbound engine because you want to quickly get to the leads, right? Like because without having to spend, inbound engine might take a slightly longer cycle. So people prefer to go the outbound engine route. But we're gonna be talking both about it, and also about how when you're in a very competitive space, when you're in a very competing cutthroat market, how do you go about positioning yourself? What does it take, and things like that.
So apart from this, I think, Nivas, we will be covering, if you're in a niche market like View.ai, right? So what are you going to do? I mean, you totally missed out on that. So,
Yeah.
because Freshworks, as Nivas said, no, it's clearly in a very crowded market. All of us know that we need a CRM. All of us are aware, that CRM is a product and what do we need. So for companies or products which are in a very niche market, we'll also be covering what will work and what kind of strategies you can adopt to. And
Right.
when it comes to outbound, I really want to like put forward some points. So I think something that's very important with outbound, primary thing that we all miss out on, is to come. So outbound, we all know, right? We have a sales team, or we have an outbound outreach team who's going to write to people, get in touch with people, to kind of bring in leads, right? Something that's basic before getting in and starting your work is to build a proper target segment, a target list itself. Because you can't just have your team go around, ping a lot of people and then bring in leads, right? So we're going to be starting with how do you look at, basically when you set up if you set up an outbound engine, what is the best way to build your first set of lists, which is the easiest hack that, the hack that we're going to share with you all is going to be here.
Right. I think what a lot of people make as a mistake, right, is as Rashmika pointed out, they just pray to almost, they'll probably acquire a list from some random place. They just go pray and pray without any context or without having a proper conversation, right? So also we spoke about the established markets versus the niche markets, right? We're going to be speaking from a product perspective, but I think this even works from a design, or like, I mean, if you're an agency, right, providing a very like it could be an established service like that everyone else is also providing, or you could be providing something fairly new, which not a lot of people are providing, right? So which means you're having to kind of set more context, increase awareness and stuff like that. So we will be talking a little more about both of that. So Rashmika, do you want to talk about the
Absolutely.
building the account book part?
Yeah. So this is the first hack or the best thing to get started with. So first thing to do is go look at your competitors, customers, and their competitors. So ideally, say for example, here Workplace is my competitor. So these are the companies listed here are the customers of Workplace. So what I should be doing is go and look at a competition for AirAsia, competition for Domino's, a competition for Starbucks, because ideally, even when you're looking out for a product, right? So what do you do when your competitor is using a technology? You have no other go. You will definitely be interested to use that product. So it's the best way to start your list building. It's the best way to build your account book, a fresh one.
Right.
Nivas, you want to add to this?
Yeah. So I think, let's say you're building probably a very small service, right? Like when you're starting up with a small agency or a service or a product, you're obviously competing with some of the largest of the players out there. And for you to really understand, hey, what are some segments that are going to work very, very well, right? So for you to identify that, I think it's important for you to, like, let's say Walmart, then you know, okay, the Targets or the Reliance groups, all of them are potential customers. And similarly, if it's going to be AirAsia, then you know all the other airline companies are your potential target. And if you can identify case studies from your competitor, then you could also build out use cases, right? Saying, hey, this is what they were trying to solve. This is what they solved really well. So if you're able to bring that story out, I think the positioning and the pitch itself kind of gets better. So once you do that, right? I mean, that's one major aspect of creating an account book. But we're going to also share a little bit of slightly controversial as well as non-conventional hacks over here, because look, though we come from large companies, it's not just that it's okay to do jugaad, right? Like hacks and figure out stuff. So something that we've done, right? Especially when you have a lot of competitors in the space, you can actually search for competitor #fail or competitor alternative on Twitter, LinkedIn, or Facebook, and all that. Right? There are a bunch of tweets over there, and very surprisingly, even till date, they've still not probably solved out the problem, right? Like they might have, for example, there's this person. Let's say I'm building an alternative, like if I'm Zoom, right, and I'm building a competing product for GoToMeeting, then I would probably search for GoToMeeting #fail or GoToMeeting alternative, or looking for a webinar solution or webinar solution recommendations. So similarly, like if you're running a design agency, right, like then you should probably be looking at design agency recommendations or freelancers, please, and all of these. These are great ways for you to just, I mean, go add value, right? Don't pitch immediately saying, hey, try out this product, right? Ask them questions, intrigue them with some interesting stuff. And it's a great way to constantly build a pipeline of conversations and leads. There are some tools which you could use, Mention or IFTTT. But I think Rashmika has another hack with respect to, you were talking about Google Alerts, right? Rashmika, you want to highlight that?
Yeah. So I think I mean, we'll be covering it later, Neva. So I think we can.
Oh, okay, fine. Yeah. So
one thing that I wanted to mention here was, like Neva said, no, this hack is going to help you kind of, to build a pipeline itself. The other point to it is you hearing from your competitors' customers about, the issues that they face is the best thing. You can use this in all your sales pitches. You can like go ahead and say, this is why we are better. So I really think this is the best way to understand your competitor's product itself, because I don't think you'll be ending up using their product directly, right? So when customers, especially an unhappy customer, can make a lot of noise, I think that's going to be super useful.
Yeah. But you got to be a little careful with the folks who are tweeting, right? When your solution or your service sucks, they're obviously going to go ahead and do the same thing, but you can handle that very well. We've done some really phenomenal stuff. And in fact, one of the very interesting things is we're actually taking enough screenshots to show you relevant examples and not just at a very top of the, we're not covering it at a 15,000 feet, but we're actually going down and getting into the trenches. So just like how Rashmika mentioned, right? Review platforms are another fantastic place. It could be Google reviews. It could be even if you're running a food boutique or a real estate or anything for that matter. There are a set of review platform websites somewhere or the other. And if you see, this is for a product business, right? This platform is called G2 Crowd. And what they do is they have reviews for, let's say, I have nothing against GoToMeeting, by the way, but just showing examples of people with 3-star, 2-star, and 1-star reviews. Right? If you combine all of that, you can see a solid 1,100 frustrated customers or users of GoToMeeting. Right? Two things that you could really do over here is one is understanding their pain point. Right? When someone is really pissed off with maybe their service or offering, understand how you can offer this thing. It could even be on a Google. Google Guides or whichever review platform it could be. It need not be a product review site, but for anything for that matter. And the other thing is a lot of the times they have the same name on LinkedIn or Twitter or Facebook, depending on where your target audience spends a lot of time. Reach out to them over there and ask them saying, hey, are you still facing that issue? And we've built a solution or a services that kind of solves for this. Would you want to take a look and would love to have a conversation? Majority of the times, again, they are willing to have open conversations because they're stuck with something that they're not very happy with. Rash, how about yours?
Yeah, I mean, it's easier to convert these people because you didn't educate them or really teach them what your product is all about, right? So they already know what your a product similar to yours is, and they know how to use it. They know what are the benefits, just that they're unhappy about the service that they are being provided by the current brand, right? So like you said, we've literally covered close to 1,500, 2,000 leads here itself.
Yeah.
I think it's a very good strategy for one whole quarter for any company to go behind easily.
Right. And also, if depending on the platform, if for example, you can look at company size, right? And maybe you're only selling to enterprises or only selling to SMBs. Filter it based on that. Like play around enough. Don't be afraid of playing around. Just be very careful of not spamming people, but be a little shameless. It's okay to make that request. It's okay to make that sale, right? So, yeah. Another very interesting thing, right? Like I think agencies could make use of it a lot, and I would probably either it's misused or underutilized, right? So there are a lot of these vertical, very niche groups where your target audience is spending. It could be even a WhatsApp community. It could be anything for that matter. Majority of the times we think about it and we think of ways to pitch, right? But take one step back and think about, okay, if I was a member over there, what would I be looking for, right? Provide as much value as you can through engagement, answering questions, having conversations, build relationships. And trust me, we've built some great, a pipeline of conversations and relationships through this, where people refer your products even without you having to be there. So identify, be it any vertical, right? It could be small communities on Instagram. It could be physical meetups that happen or anything. Maybe physical meetups might not be happening at the moment, but just look at different avenues where your target audience spend time. And that's a great channel for leads.
True, absolutely. I think one more point to add here is, Nivas, LinkedIn is not the only forum to look out for groups. So that's another call out here. I mean, there are a lot of people who are really active even now on Facebook and multiple other platforms or forums on the internet, right? So the best thing to do is find out where your target segment is and make sure that you are there. Right. And one more thing that worked for us internally is, to kind of find out who are the folks who are actually engaging in these groups. Irrespective of, from your side, you tried posting stuff and you kind of got traction from there, right? What we did from our side is we found active prospects from these groups. So we kind of went back and kind of messaged them on LinkedIn or whatever platform we tried to, because we know, for a matter of fact, a lot of times we kind of keep writing to people and we don't get replies. So, it's a conversation starter. We can just get yourself introduced telling, hey, I'm a part of the same group too. So, it's going to help you get that conversation there and, build that relationship.
And also another small hack that we've done, Rashmika, is that we generally befriend the admin of these groups, right? And we don't get an ask. We don't ask them saying, can I do this? Can I do that? Right? I'd be like, I'll go in and say, hey, what is the one thing that I should follow in this group, right? Be that obedient student or like a member of the group and kind of play along with that, right? They love it. And in fact, when you even attend an event or like I don't know if a lot of you are attending this webinar. If it was me, I would probably reach out to Yash and say, hey, how do you think I can make the most out of this event, right? Literally there'll be like just 1% of the people who might even be thinking about this. If you do that, I think you're going to stand out with maybe whoever the organizers are or even the speakers are. So those are very, very small things that you can do to just stand out from the crowd. And because you're being more polite and thinking about adding value, they're obviously going to pay more attention to you to help you out and stuff like that, rather than just trying to see you as a vendor who's trying to like spam the group, right?
And spam. Yeah, absolutely. That's a very good one.
I think, yeah,
The
slightly, contradicting to Rashmika's point, a lot of the businesses, B2B businesses, right, seem to spend a good amount of time on LinkedIn, depending on who your end audience is. Like, for example, if you're looking at fashion influencers, like how Rashmika would probably work on, they're probably more on Instagram or other
no,
platforms.
they're active on LinkedIn too. I mean, don't.
Right, no question on that. So I think I'm just going to show you, like, we wanted to give you like one exact message that I had sent out to one of our partners. Oh, that's not here.
It's there after this.
It's there. Okay. Yeah. So, okay. I'm just going to, okay. Before I show that to you, one mistake that a lot of people make is they immediately go into LinkedIn or any platform for that matter, and they immediately try starting to sell, right? Like majority of the times I get a first message saying, hey, we do this, we do that, we do this. Are you interested? I'm like, you don't even know me. You didn't pay. I mean, put the effort to understand who I am or what I do and stuff like that. So try building more of relationships, open on social, just have build conversations or relationships and then take it on email or phone. Just a small example of an exact message that we had sent, just from a reference perspective, right? We wanted to build partnership with one of our partners called Seed Legals in the UK, and they were running a legal firm, right? So what we did was I did this recent research on them, and I said Freshworks is a customer engagement platform SaaS company, and we have a lot of startups and mid-stage companies in our customer base from the UK and globally. So that's my hook for him, right? Like, because he knows, okay, they are functioning in the UK. Because if he sees my profile, it's going to say I'm from Chennai, India, where he or she might not be super interested. But then I was like, hey, I was also wondering if there are ways for us to partner and do a couple of co-marketing activities together. That's my ask. And then I say, I know it's not the best of times, right? Like I'm being a little considerate because they could be going through any sort of personal or family situation or things like that. So you got to be super considerate, irrespective of when it is. I know it's not the best of times, but I just thought this would be a good opportunity for both our teams to build deeper relationships and explore opportunities. Let me know if Seed Legal would be interested in this. I'll leave it at a very like a subtle, I'm not being pushy. I'm just leaving it over there. And probably if the person had not responded, I'd have gone back and said, hey, Anthony, did you even get a chance to look at this? And always when you follow up, right, the one mistake people make is they just follow up. They say, did you get a chance to look at this? Doesn't add extra value, right? Add one more line, which just says something like, hey, you know why I was trying to reach out to you? Because we've partnered with these people and we've done some significant activities. We've added some value for both parties. And because you are also one of those folks, that's why I was reaching out to you and I'm following up with you. I'm not trying to spam you, right? So when you do that, I think it just works like magic. So
Absolutely. Totally agree. And especially, can you just go back,
sure.
Being considerate about the situation, no, considering the pandemic and everybody around the world is just looking at survival and you don't know what people are going through, right? This is very important. Not to be very pushy because you don't know. I mean, half of them will respond back telling, I'm like laid off. You don't even know if they have a job now. So you need to be very, conscious about the situation. And number two, something that we've done with LinkedIn as a tool is, since we're going to end social media itself here, I wanted to add is to build a relationship. There were a lot of hacks that we did at our end. It can be as simple as, following a particular person through Sales Navigator and understand understand his activity itself. What kind of is he liking? What kind of posts is he engaging with? So what kind of content materials he's really interested? So I know it's looking like it's literally like stalking, but when you need to bring a prospect in, I think an outbound team will go to any extent to understand the customer, a prospect, to make him your customer. So all these little things matter, and I know maybe at scale you need to figure out how to do this. But when you have even like a very warm or a hot prospect list, these are the things that you can keep in mind. Sales Navigator as a product, as a tool, is going to be really helpful in that way. And when it comes to platforms, right? I was talking about Twitter and Facebook, right? So there are cases where Facebook as a platform is being used in geographies like Japan and Southeast Asia to bring in leads, because LinkedIn as a platform, or there are different social media platforms which are very popular in different geographies. So I think geographies play a very important role. So if you are guys who play in different markets, you need to keep this in mind, because not all your customers or all your prospects are going to be active only on LinkedIn.
Right, absolutely. No, I think because I've noticed more of the Southeast Asia being more active on Facebook and other platforms compared to LinkedIn, right? Like I've never seen anyone from my Japanese partners just even being available on LinkedIn. And I probably reach out to them on another platform, right? So there was also a question on, can you recommend lead generation software? So I have a very different opinion. I think I'll also love, Rash, do you want to start on this? And I have a very different opinion. So
lead gen software isn't just building database, or?
I'm guessing probably.
So,
but if you can, okay, it was an anonymous attendee. So the anonymous attendee, I would just request if you can add a little more context on, we're going to talk about a couple of tools.
I'm not sure.
I don't know if that's what you're trying to ask for. So
we will be having tools ahead, and if somebody who has asked the question can elaborate a bit, that will be very helpful. So everybody who is going to ask questions, please try to ask on a specific thing, so that we so this is a very golden opportunity for you all, because we won't be able to get in touch with Rashmika and Nivas any other time. So it is a one-to-one question that you can ask. It is your golden ticket. So ask it for your personal thing. Don't ask a general thing which you can go to Google and find it out.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, you want to start, or should
Absolutely. I assume lead generation software here is just prospecting softwares that we use. So from our side, we use, we don't use ATEX, so I think I leave it to Nivas to talk about it. We, of course, use ZoomInfo, DuckSoup, and Lucia at our end to build, kind of the databases itself, to understand your target segment and what kind of list. So basically, it'll help you build your own list. And, it'll even go down to an extent where you can collect information about the contacts in these lists. So Lucia lets you kind of, understand build the email IDs, get contact details like phone numbers, in case you want to do cold calling and all of that stuff. So these are the tools that will be really handy for you to kind of build your list itself, list and contact list. Of course, another thing to add here is, these tools, of course, come at a cost, right? So it depends on your marketing budget and whatever budget you have. The easiest, simplest way, if you're looking at a very small number to be acquired, say you're looking at 100 or 150 accounts list, you can probably get in touch with any of the digital agencies who actually help you build lists. So that's going to be another thing. But of course, the disadvantages, you need to be very sure about your targeting, your criteria, because you should not end up with a junk list, right? So from a cost point of view, that might help. That has helped a lot of agencies or small scale companies that I've spoken to. But I really think you need to be very clear, because here with all the tools, it's going to be us and our team who's going to build it. So you guys know the best for your company. But when you outsource this to some other agency, you need to be very cautious about certain features or certain factors that the agency need to keep in mind to build the list for you.
Right. So Ravi has a question asking, apart from LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and other popular social media platforms, are there any geographically local social media platforms we should be active in and can find some customers? I think it just boils again down to who your target persona is and where they're spending time. Like, for example, Line seems to be super famous in Japan, or there are a lot of these chat
bars. Yeah.
That I just wanted to point out, right? Like, it could be even, like, for example, in the West, more that I've noticed is they spend a lot of time building vertical Slack groups, right? There are Slack communities for very, very small functions. And they have some massive conversations out there. In fact, they don't even allow a lot of outsiders, right? So if you can build their trust and then get into the platform, nothing like it. You get super exclusive access. Again, but don't misuse it just for lead generation. Try looking at it as a relationship building practice. So I'll talk a little about ATEX, right? Like I think a lot of us, what we do is we come up with these copies, right? Like of saying, okay, I'm Nivas Ravichandran and I lead startup partnerships at Freshworks. And you might have a small pitch, a two-line pitch, a two-line this thing, two-line whatever, right? And for you to keep typing that again and again on different, to actually have conversations and not copy paste becomes a very painful thing. So ATEX is like a text expander software where if you given a code like NLC or FWS or something like that, it'll automatically expand into a larger piece of text, right? So even when you're sending a connection request on LinkedIn or a pitch or anything for that matter, it helps save time, right? It's not really a prospecting tool alone, but it's more of a productivity tool. But I've really used it left, right, and center on my LinkedIn. Wherever I reach out to people, I'll be like, I'll push the same codes. I can probably, it's actually only $5 as well, right? So it's not that expensive. Yeah, lifetime, not even per month. So, and at that price, they still have it at that price. Yeah.
Great. No, I think one more thing we missed out here, Nivas, is the LinkedIn Sales Nav feature itself.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
if you have a list of companies, all you have to do is just plug in, the company name there. And you can go to an extent and figure out, do you want to target the CXOs? Do you want to target the mid-management? I mean, as long as they're active on LinkedIn, you can find out their profiles directly and start connecting with them. So that's the easiest thing and the best thing to do. From a cost point of view, also, if you have like one or two people to do outreach, I think you are definitely going to have a sales navigator. So I think that's something that.
Oh yeah, I think we forgot to probably. Yeah, we kind of missed out on the list. You want to talk about the alerts?
This is like this, super thing that worked for us. So it's like, as simple as setting Google Alerts. So we were talking about monitor your competitor, understand what your competitor is doing, understand what your prospects are doing and all of that stuff, right? So you understood, so you have a list of like, say, 1,000 companies that you want to go behind. You're not going to go behind, I think there's something wrong. Yeah. So you cannot go behind all the 1,000 companies at the same time, right? You need to prioritize them. And of course, you'll have different type of campaigns running to different type of companies itself. So setting alerts as simple as a Google alert, say, for example, I want to target Freshworks and sell a product to Freshworks. So if I go, all I have to do is just set alerts on Google for Freshworks as a term. So every time Freshworks is mentioned anywhere on the internet, be it a PR release, be it any other article or a blog post or a guest blogging page, every time it is mentioned, I get an alert on my, on my email, to my email. So, I mean, in that way, I read up and I understand what's going on. These are the things, these are very small cues that's going to help you hit the target segment at the right time. Say, for example, Freshworks is going to hire a CTO, is hiring a CTO, and I get to know that. And I am selling a product that directly is related to the CTO of a company. So, I mean, there's nothing, nothing better than that particular time, right? So that's the best time for you to reach out to the CTO, kind of be compassionate, wish him good luck and all of that stuff. And then probably you can take the conversation forward. So, I mean, that really worked. I think all of you all should try. And of course, there are a lot of alerting tools in the market. You have a lot of behavioral based alerting tools. Of course, it all comes at a cost. So one of a very good alert or a behavior signal tool is Bombora, which is really good for ICP tracking.
Right. And also, I think LinkedIn Sales Navigator also has this tab called Who Switched Jobs, right? That's a very fancy thing. It'll tell you saying, hey, this person recently joined the company, right? And a lot of the times with the leaders changing, they want to make a change, right? Like they want to probably bring in something. They want to like throw around a bunch of things and make some changes, right? So it's generally good for you to look out for those people and just say, like just like how Rashmika mentioned, right? Just say congratulations and kind of take it forward. From there, just great relationship will just end up in a lot of very interesting stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think before we jump into Inbound Engine, there was a question on cold calling, Rashmika. So has that worked for, I have like some points around that, but I just thought there's a question on what's your What's your aspect or what's your
For
thoughts?
us, cold calling is basically work for India and Middle East based markets majorly. US and Europe, Europe definitely no because of the GDPR and you don't want to get into trouble, right? So US it has really not worked to be frank for us. I mean to be frank at MSD so far. So that's the
Right.
answer.
So I think I have a very different opinion, right? Cold calling, I'm going to just finish this sentence fully. Hear me out. Cold calling is dead, right? The reason being, if you're just going to call up Rashmika without knowing who she is and just going to say, hey, I do this and are you interested, right? I obviously I wouldn't care. But if you know my problems, if you know what I'm facing, or if you know that, hey, I've been hiring, or if I've been spending a lot of efforts on this, or if I've been scaling, and then say, hey, you know what, I noticed this on your profile the other day, and I was just curious if would you be interested in like a design firm or something like that, right? Then I'm going to pay more attention to your call because you've done your research, right? So as long as you've had like, I think it's this, it's not that cold calling is I mean cold calling is dead, but contextual better conversations is still alive, right?
I think a better term is Nivas. I'm sorry to like interfere
But
here. Warm calling. Call your warm prospects, not cold people. I
right,
mean,
right.
I'm sure. I mean, you and I will not be picking up the call and answering someone we don't know, right? So
Think
as
about it. When was the last time you attended a phone call and really bought something, right? Like, yeah.
So I think you need to be very cautious about this and understand. Of course, there are people who will, respond to you on phones, but there is a point. You need to understand how many times you've really touched them before. How many are they ready enough for you to? Because you don't really want to shut the door to a very good prospect just by calling and annoying someone, right? That's the worst thing that you want to do.
Yeah.
You need to be very considerate. You have different forums. I think we've all like stayed away from talking to people on phone, right? So we are very comfortable writing emails, texting each other. You can even use WhatsApp as a medium. In India, basically, it's worked for us, like, WhatsApping people and just getting yourself introduced. But we've definitely not used this for any cold lead. We've
Right.
always used this for people in our pipeline, prospects who are like warm enough. Whom, there are times, especially in this pandemic, you don't know really like, what happened, why somebody would have suddenly become inactive on LinkedIn. So after like writing to them 4 or 5 times, maybe they've agreed to come to a demo and then they didn't show up and they've not responded for so many of your messages. Probably you can drop in a message just to check in on them and understand, is everything okay? Don't really be pushy, and you can't be like, you didn't show up for my demo. Be considerate, understand, try to understand what the problem was. I think this is really going to help you to take the conversation forward.
Also, a very interesting thing about cold call is you're not trying to sell in a cold call, right? You need to first realize that all you're asking in a cold call, right, is asking for 30 more seconds, right? If, like, for example, when you pick up the phone and just try selling, you're not really going to convert, but you're going to be asking for the next 30 seconds. That's what you're buying from them. If you can maybe make that happen, then, like, for example, if it was me, I'd be like, hey, Rashmika, I just noticed that View.ai is doing this. I'm Nivas from, like, I'll probably start with a question, more intriguing question rather than just giving an introduction. And then finish the sentence by saying, hey, I'm Nivas and we do this. I was just wondering if you have 30 seconds, right? Because I've already caught her attention in the beginning, because that's when her attention is high, and not when I'm going to say, I'm Nivas and I'm from Freshworks and we do this, right? I would have already lost her. But rather ask her the question where you've done the research and then go into probably saying, I'm Nivas and I'm this thing. Can I have like just 15 seconds of your time, right? Just asking if you're interested in something. That seems to work out way better than thing. So just jumping into inbound engine. Yeah.
We're done with outbound, yes.
Yeah. Rashmika, do you want to talk about, or let me cover about the existing vertical, because we play in the established markets category and you're more in the new verticals category. So this is something that we've really, we've gone after very established markets at Freshworks. We're right now a 200 million plus revenue company. Only one of the things is we've gone after fairly widely used products, and we've built fresh, more user-friendly products that we've very strongly sold to the world. We're very proud that, we're building from India and selling globally. So that's one of the things that we are very happy about. So when you're especially doing this, right, think about it, there's so much competition. There are so many other larger competitors that literally the Goliaths, like if you know the David versus Goliath kind of the reference, you're the David and fighting against the large Goliaths in the world, right? So how do you spending on Google ads is just going to drain so much, because they're like the Amazons of the world. They're with deep pockets, and you're like this chota e-commerce company, right? Like you can't be bidding against it. But there are a lot of segments where the or probably the bigger competitor is leaving out, right? Like there are spaces where they aren't paying enough attention. So you'll have to kind of look into that. A couple of ways you can grow is search pages. Like for example, if you're offering like a design agency or a development agency or things like that, development requests, HTML development requests, website development requests. And then what I mean by vertical keywords is, let's say your customers are all real estate folks or hospitals, or depending on where they are, build pages for those categories, right? Say development for hospitals, tech development for this, tech development for that, right? Like put in the verticals so that you can rank for it better. These are slightly long tail, but they seem to work very well. Content marketing is great. We're going to be talking about that as well. Content marketing and social media marketing. I mean, some places social media marketing works great. Some places it's not worked very well. But the other very interesting thing that you should leverage is also looking at, hey, if they're using my product, or if they are about to use my service, what are some of the other tools, or what are some of the other avenues where they would be, I mean, spending their money or their efforts on, right? Like if you can look at that and build some strong partnerships, it's going to be super critical. Rashmika, you want to?
So like Nivas said, right, the existing vertical, almost everything we use at Your.ai. So we, of course, work on SEO. And I think with inbound SEO and paid marketing, with Google is like a given, right? All of us tend to, whether we understand this or not, most of the companies just jump into Google Ads, put money, and then we burn our fingers most of the times, right?
So burn their pockets.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Burnt pockets are worse. So we do it, and it fairly works for us too. But these are the other verticals that we really wanted to list out here and talk about, because we are not in a really crowded market, like Nivas said, right? We of course have competition, but the major, the important aspect for our industry is awareness and education about our product and our solution itself, right? So unless and until you make your customer understand that he or she needs your product, there are a lot of cases where for example, retail industry, like a lot of companies do not even know why do they need AI, what are the benefits that AI can do. I mean, now maybe because of COVID, people understand that they need to move online, but we play a major role in creating that awareness and educating the user base itself about why AI is very important. How can AI transform your retail business is something that's very important. So a lot of y'all will be working on, if you're working on all these niche markets and working on a market which is not completely, developed, or a market which is not crowded, where people are, I mean, where the users are less aware of what your product generally is going to give. Creating awareness and educating the user is going to play a very important role, because you are actually catching them right at the beginning, right? Because you tend to look like a thought leader when you start creating awareness and education, rather than just being very pushy and trying to sell your product from day one, right? So we've used a lot of content pieces itself, like blogs, reports, and all of that stuff. It's very generic for the industry. What my industry needs can be, as simple as why digital transformation is the need of the hour for retail industry, right? Because you have, these are the 5 things that you need to understand why you need to be moving your offline business online. These are the things that your target segment will be looking. They're definitely not going to be looking for, a CRM software. I mean, maybe a CRM software directly, but not, they'll not be aware that I need this particular product to, kind of benefit this, right? So when they're not clear about it, awareness and education is going to help come and help you. Second thing is identify avenues. So we kind of spoke about a lot of platforms and forums and groups before this, right? So avenues are definitely the platform. So basically, end of the day, you are targeting humans, whether it's B2B or B2C, you're going to target humans, right? Understand where your target segments are. So say you look at a company like Fresh.
We're running a little.
I'll just finish.
So let's
understand where these people are, and go and make sure you're present in these verticals, in these avenues. Tools, of course, I think Nivas covered most of it. Content marketing is the same as that of what, is the existing verticalist, but I think videos as an aspect in content marketing is the next big thing. And I think most of us need to kind of figure out a way to use videos in most of your content pieces. With ABM, account-based marketing is the new thing, because when your search volume for your keywords or the kind of industry you're in is pretty less, the best thing to do is, because your user do not even know that they need you, right? So you build a target list, go behind the list with all these educational based content and content, video based content, and try and nurture them, and then you can try and convert them. That's the end to it. We can
Cool.
talk
So,
about this later. Yeah.
I think
Have
so.
a
We
lot more,
have
yeah.
about roughly 6 to 7 minutes, it seems. So we're just going to quickly rush up on a couple of things. Yeah, I'll just give you a little context, right? Like when we entered, we were playing in the CRM software market, and just look at the number of advertisements placed by some of our competitors, right? There's I don't want to call out some of the competitors here. But that's how competitive. Maybe even when the service that you're offering in terms of development or design could be in this thing, right? We follow three things generally when you're playing in an established market. Girish actually has this very nice description of how he defines this. So he calls it getting invited to the party. And the second thing is we always leverage search as much as we can, because we're not really in the US where we're able to meet a lot of our customers in person. So we do leverage search as much as we can. And then we play a very heavy volume game. So what we mean by getting invited to the party, right? When you think of buying a mobile phone brand or so, think about it, right? What are the top four brands that come to your mind? It'll be like Apple, Samsung, OnePlus, MI, right?
Mhm.
The others didn't even come to my mind, right? Like probably the top four brands, and I'll probably compare these four brands. If I need to buy a phone for my mom or someone, I'm going to look at these and just make a decision, right? Similarly is how people buy either software or services, right? They will think of maybe the top four things, and then they'll just get into that, right? If you didn't really get into that four brands as the consideration circle, you've lost a battle there itself, right? So you've got to either. So how do you get invited to the parties? Two things. You either go against a concept where there's an old concept and then you're going to bring something new, or or the other thing is going after the biggest of the players, right? Just going and hitting them hard. I'm going to probably very quickly talk about this, right? Our biggest competitor is Zendesk. And what they did was in the year 2011, they called us a freaking ripoff because we had the word desk in it. So what happened was, this became a huge thing on Twitter, right? Everyone was talking, saying, "Oh, okay, is Freshdesk a copy of ripoff of Zendesk and things like that?" Right? What we did was we created a page. We replied over there. We created a page called ripoffornot.org, right? And then what we did was we collected a lot of customer testimonials from people who moved from Zendesk to Freshdesk and put it up all over there, right? Even today, the page exists. What happened was, because this was a huge, like a corporate battle where a large company was fighting against a small company, and the small company was taking on the larger company. Every person, a lot of PR folks started covering it, and every person who was evaluating Zendesk started looking at Freshdesk, right? So that just gave us a huge boost. And as a follow-up on that, when we launched the CRM, we knew that we had to go against Salesforce. So in 2018, this is Salesforce building, the tower, right? Like, which is like about, I think, 100 floors or something like that in San Francisco. It's probably the tallest building in San Francisco. And they have this large conference where there are about 150,000 attendees. We flew a blimp on top of it saying #Salesforce, where we said, okay, you know what? Salesforce has been there for a very long time, where they've become very clunky and they've become big. But now there's a fresh force, right? And that's why we're here. And now #Salesforce. And this kind of started trending out really well. Not a lot of businesses obviously can spend so much money in doing that. You don't need to, right? So you can even do it at
your copies, no? When it comes to your even search copies, you can be very smart about it.
totally.
TapTap's competitors come up with
Yeah.
really smart copies, I think.
Right. Yeah. So what we did was, in the homepage, right, you can see it says your Salesforce needs a better CRM, right? So Salesforce also is a word for sales teams, right? And also, if you see in the same same homepage, we've gone against the old CRM concept versus how Freshsales will be used, right? Where in the old CRM, you'll have to bring in all phone, email, event tracking, settings, all of that together. Whereas in Freshsales, you have a single unified view, right? You can either take on an old concept or the competitor as well. So you want to talk about this, Rashmika?
Absolutely, yeah. So listicles are basically, right, you all you need to do is just say, for example, for us, what we did was, we wanted to really get in touch with these retail influencers to kind of, make sure it's a branding, it's a way to brand your own company, right? So the easiest thing to do is come up with a list of top 50 or 25 influencers in your industry. With Freshworks, it was sales influencers. For us, it was retail influencers. And we kind of wrote to them before publishing all of this. We kind of wrote to them and asked them to kind of, said that we're going to, say, hey, we've done a survey or we've done a poll and we've kind of shortlisted you and you're one among the top 50 that in our list. We'll be really glad if you could share it on your social media, right? What more? I mean, you have like 50 social influencers or 25 social influencers in the market, tweeting, posting, resharing all your posts on LinkedIn and Twitter. It's the easiest way to get enough traction. I think that worked brilliantly for both of us. Yeah.
Let's say when you're running a design agency and if you can just list the top 20 designers or top 20 design agencies, design firms or whatever, right? It just works so much in your favor. So this is something that I wanted to quickly talk about, right? Like when you're providing an offering or a service, always look at what is that one step that they would be at before using your product or service, right? We are a CRM software, right? When do you need a CRM software? When you have a lot of leads. So we were thinking, okay, when do they need or when do they start off with this, right? So when they have launched a product on Product Hunt, they seem to generate a lot of leads and they need a place to store it, right? So okay, we were thinking, okay, can we put together a guide which talks about how do you generate leads on Product Hunt? And then so that when they have those leads and they'll automatically think about, oh yeah, I remember reading this guide from Freshsales. So can I take a look at Freshsales, right? So that's a way for you to does not even cost a lot. It's very easy for you to put it out and distribute it very well.
And this is the education part that we were talking about, educating your users with what they need.
Right. Yeah.
With review platforms, of course, we've been talking about review platforms since the beginning, right? So you need to make sure you're right there in front of all, especially when you have a lot of competition, when your market itself is so crowded, you need to be there in all the review platforms and make sure you kind of, all these platforms, I think, gives you a badge, whether it's Google review platform or, G2 Crowd or Capterra. Make sure you make the best out of it. One easy hack is to kind of write a blog about it itself. We've done it internally with all the PR pieces that we have. And I think Freshworks, a lot of other companies have done it to kind of repurpose the same content in your blog, and you can promote it on social media, run ads, or do whatever. You can distribute it however you want.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
We can just talk a lot about this. Today, there are enough avenues for you to create. I think this is a great platform where ClientJoy is using this platform called Hey Summit to put this event together. But I think there are enough ways for you to do this. We're putting together this startup summit against all odds, right? Like we know that a lot of startups are struggling, but we want them to kind of fight all of this and come out stronger. So we've put this together. I think, what is our view?
So our view is again an educational summit that we do to connect all the retailers in the market, especially with COVID, there are a lot of issues that people are facing. So we're trying to address all of this. And we have, of course, this is a very good way for us. So we bring in our customers to talk about the pain points that they're currently facing, right? So when you have the biggest players in a particular industry come and speak about the issues that they have, that's more than enough for you to bring sign-ups. Right. So yeah, I think webinars are no longer good to have. It's almost a must-have because I don't think we are even going to meet each other for next at least 4-5 months, at least till this year end, right? So webinars and virtual events are going to be
4-5 months. I think you're just being too optimistic, but yeah, let's take that offline. But here's one thing, right? Like I feel, look, also think about how you can make it more engaging, right? Previously, I think people were very shy about turning on their videos and all that, right? Today, I think people should turn on their videos, be more active, and probably even allow people to turn on the participants' videos so that you can have better conversations and take up better things, right? I think Quora is a great way to just build whatever service you're offering, just build thought leadership or domain expertise, keep sharing some of these things. Today, it's not a great like the best of platforms because they used to be a fantastic platform. But what I would really ask you to look at, right, is a lot of the Quora answers get ranked on social for the same keyword searches, right? So because it's a third-party platform, so you can really leverage that and kind of take it up. Yeah.
Oh yeah. This is
Yes.
a really good
So
thing.
this is a mistake that a lot of businesses make, right? They don't really repurpose the content enough. Even like, for example, let's say you created a webinar, right? You'd be like, okay, I got 200 registrations and 50 attendees, and you leave it off over there, right? You don't think about, okay, how do I get more value out of this? And you just leave it off at that space. And that's it, right? Like, so I'll tell you an example of how we generally do content repurposing at Freshworks. It's actually very minimal effort, and I'll also tell you how we do it. Let's say we did a webinar on we actually did a webinar on how to generate leads on LinkedIn with this person called Jake Jargavan, right? We had about 750 registrations and 400 attendees, but we didn't leave it over there. So what we did was we kind of converted it into a blog article. We gave it out to an external third party to kind of transcribe that webinar into a text. We got that, right? And we broke down that entire 45-minute webinar into 5-6 minutes videos on YouTube. In fact, if you search for duck soup today, the fourth or fifth video that appears on YouTube or Google is the duck soup video that we had put together, right? I'd mentioned that this webinar had about 700 registrations, but this video alone has about 15,000 views, right? So that's the amount of impact it can make. And we also were able to create a lot of deep dive blogs through this, right? Like where we broke down each of the topics and made it bigger. Right?
No, I think one more thing is I think videos are going to help you crack SEO like crazy. And we exactly did the same thing with almost all our videos, right? We transcribed all of them. And one more thing that we did is we literally used them even in our podcast. Like we repurposed them into a podcast and then we kind of released it because there are a lot of people who will want to consume it differently, right? So you have enough content. You actually didn't sit and write 100,000 different content materials or develop new content materials. Rather, look at ways to just refurbish whatever you have. Like you asked rightly said.
For different channels, different purposes, and just solving different problems, right? Okay, I think I'm going to skip this. Videos on social is super effective. Just think about whenever you work on a platform, right? Why are they allowing you to promote something, right? Like let's say video increases engagement, keeps them within the platform. So they'll obviously push for videos. Whereas if you post a link on any social media platform, you're actually asking them to move away from that platform. So they'll obviously restrict it. So that's there. Rash, I'm going to allow you to take this up.
We come to the end, right? This is the last slide, no?
Yeah.
I think something that most of the companies have now is a newsletter, right? But make sure your newsletter is as niche as possible. You cover exactly what your users want because all of us subscribe to like at least a minimum of 100 newsletters. Any website we go, we have a pop-up. They ask for our email IDs and we like subscribe for it, right? But how many of y'all really read all the newsletters? So I think you need to make sure your newsletters are a habit to all your users, which means your content needs to be very on point, very niche, very relevant to the particular industry, talking about problems and pain points, talking about issues that the segment is currently facing, like something like the impact of COVID on our retail industry, something that worked really well, especially and you have to be very smart about the timing. Immediately within first few weeks of the COVID issue, we like put a packed our bags together and send out a newsletter which spoke about what these are the issues that people are going to be facing. You need to be very smart about certain issues because timing is going to be very important when it comes to emails and newsletters.
Yeah. I think that brings us to the end of the presentation. We can take some questions if Sahil loves, or if there are any. I think
there are around five questions, but we already are over the time.
No, there is a question about one tool. I think there are no tools to kind of tell you who visited your website because it's a privacy concern. But Rollworks or any CRM will let you, like HubSpot, when you upload the list, if the contacts or these email IDs is in your list, this is to Sharan, it will let you understand if that user has visited your pages. Right. But of course, you need to be doing paid marketing to these people.
Yeah, just before I log off, I just wanted to let one probably a small advice for all the attendees over here. When you're sending out a connection request to any of the speakers today that you want to connect with, send them a connection request with a personalized note saying, hey, I listened to this conversation. Probably just leave them a small note saying, hey, this is what I really loved about your presentation, right? because they're going to be receiving a lot of connection requests. But you might not stand out. So if you want to really stand out, make that effort. I think you will. Okay.
Yeah, I think we need to put to practice whatever we learned today.
So
Yeah.
my connection request will be coming to you all, and I will be saying that I learned a lot, and maybe we could have renamed the session to how to win friends and influence people online.
Oh, I think, yeah, I'm more of a Dale
I
Carnegie
learned a
fan.
lot of things. Thanks a lot, Nivas and Rashmika. I would have taken this conversation to maybe 120 minutes because I had a lot of questions which I had written in my book. But due to the time limit that we have, we won't be able to take all of them up. I am running a poll, guys. If you can do the poll, and then we will end the session. Thanks a lot, Nivas
you.
and Rashmika, for dedicating this time. Maybe we will be having another session with you guys again.